This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in downtown Denver, Colorado. I'm here at Effective UI. Since 2005, they have been creating transformational digital products, experiences, and insight for customers, clients across the globe. I'm here with Zach Hendershot. Zach, you're the VP of Technology Services. Share with me, first of all, just a little bit about yourself. The company began back in 2005. You've been with them here for a couple years. Give me a little bit of background about yourself and how it is you got involved.
Absolutely. So I've been in the technology space for probably about really 20 years at this point. And so I've been in startups, large enterprises, working with the Fortune 500. I've started my own businesses, and I've really come to a place of really wanting to use the skills that I've acquired over my career to really help Fortune 500 organizations change, innovate, and really deliver amazing, great experiences for their clients.
Definitely a changing industry that you're involved with. Let's jump back all the way to 2005. Share with me a little bit what the differences were between what digital agencies were providing for clients out there versus system integrators. How were those different?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, when we started as an organization, we kind of fell into the fact that the user really is the most critical part of being successful in the digital world. A lot of the organizations and system integrators are focused on just the technologies. They're focused on implementing specific frameworks and languages and platforms, and more focused on the implementation of that and less on how users are actually impacted by that technology. And so when we saw that very direct connection to how we can actually make a very impactful difference in the lives of users and to drive value and revenue and growth for businesses, that's when we sort of really transitioned to help organizations understand the importance of the user, how much a digital experience affects the user's interpretation of how that business drives value for them, and that's where we really found a really incredible niche for ourselves.
So really back then, companies were really sacrificing one for the other. Either it was a user workable interface or a high utility app on the back end, but really between the two, that was unheard of kind of.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I think what's really important for us is that for so many years, organizations were focused on solving their internal problems. How do we, increase efficiency of this piece of software? How do we make a certain piece of software faster without really understanding how that affects the people who actually use it every single day of their life? And so that's a huge part of what we bring to the table, is we help organizations understand all of those thousands of different ways that users are impacted by their software and help make all of those interactions better, more efficient, more directed to what the user wants to get out of the software rather than what the business thinks the user should get out of it.
So like you mentioned before, the actual success of this is basically the effective user interface, which is right in the name as well. Obviously, if you've got you're streamlining this workflow, if you will, it basically has to affect their bottom line as well. Is that what you find, and is that what you're experiencing?
Yeah, so what's really interesting about that, in my point of view, is that organizations are just now starting to understand that there's a real quantifiable way of understanding how great experiences affect their bottom line. And we're helping a lot of organizations that we work with start to build metrics and systems of measurement around what does it mean when a user spends less time in your software and more time doing their actual work or what they're responsible for. And that's what we're helping organizations more frequently understand, is great user experience often means less interaction with the software. It often means less impediments and less barriers within the software, so they can focus on what they do best. Their specialized knowledge, whatever that is, that helps them do their job better. We help software become a great facilitator for what the business as a whole does.
It would be nice if we could say there's a science to understand what the user is looking for, but really it becomes an art. We're talking about research, insight, interviews, understanding what it is the company wants. Is this a process that takes some time, but at the end provides the results?
Yeah, so a huge part of how we've been successful is utilizing a process, a really simple process ultimately, of understanding the customer through user interviews, through customer insight, through analysis and synthesis of all the things that we learn from the customers actually using the software. And we turn that into a design process and a technology implementation process that takes all of those learnings, turns it into a really effective piece of software based on what we're truly hearing, not our hunches or what the business has heard over the last decade or what. All of that gets filtered filtered in with real customer insight, real customer information into a product that actually is going to solve all of those needs.
As companies out there now embrace a digital world, many times companies that were literally paper companies like that of National Geographic. Share with me a little bit about the work you've done in the past with these types.
A lot of organizations certainly have transitioned from this world of paper and analog and tried to actually translate that experience into a digital experience without really understanding the deep implications of what that means. You have different interaction patterns, different usage patterns, different ways of expecting data and information to be available to you. And so when we look at these organizations who are transitioning from these very traditional ways of thinking about value through software, one of the things that we really have to help them understand is, how does that paradigm change in the digital space? How do you have to think differently around solving a problem because you're interacting through a digital interface, whether that's a phone or a tablet or whether that's a desktop computer or whatever that is, that paradigm changes fundamentally in some way. And so oftentimes organizations get caught in this really, decade-old paradigm of how they talk about delivering value and how they, build experiences, and they have to think in a very different way that is sometimes uncomfortable. But through the research, through our process and design methodology and technology implementation methodology, we help them understand this actually can help you drive value. It just may be different from how you've been doing it the last decade or more.
In 2010, the iPad was a real game changer probably for this industry. Share with me how you guys were able to adapt, still to remain on top and be one of the top firms to work with.
So the iPad was a huge game changer for us. A lot of the work that we were doing up until that point utilized a technology called Flash and Flex. And the iPad allowed us to sort of break away a little bit from the independence or the dependence that we would have on that particular technology and the limitations and sort of what that meant for delivering business value. And so what that allowed us to do is to really look at what a mobile application and a mobile device really gives the business to solve a problem. So it allowed us to sort of take a step back and say, okay, how are users actually now going to be using this information on the street or in the world? And it allowed us to sort of change a little bit of our methodology to help organizations take a step back, look at how users are actually using the software in the real world, not be tethered by sort of the traditional ideas of a desktop computer sitting on a desk, and to really take a fresh look at how you design experiences that are really tailored towards what you're doing on the corner of the street, trying to find the gas station or whatever it is. And it's a shift in mentality that allows them to sort of not be constrained by so much of how they've been building experiences, but to take a fresh perspective and to adopt that into our methodology of how we help them evaluate what's going to solve a problem for their customers.
Really this company was a pioneer in the UX space, and now there are companies out there that are doing the UX a little bit on the side, some a little bit more. Is this still the heart of what you do here in this organization?
It is in so many ways, but I think what really differentiates us is sort of the cross-discipline people that we bring to bear to solve this problem. We don't look at it strictly from a visual design user experience perspective. We look at it from a comprehensive end-to-end, from the back-end technology implementation, the front-end technology implementation, and the design and research. So the people that we have on staff at Effective UI are very cross-discipline. We have perspectives from deep technologists. We have perspectives from subject matter experts, people who understand the business, who understand the ROI that this is going to be driving, and connecting all those together into a comprehensive end-to-end solution for the client rather than just a narrow point of view around user experience. Because we believe user experience is every aspect of how a user interacts with the software, not just what you see, but how it works, how it acts, and how it ultimately drives value for the customer.
So only as powerful as its weakest link. Basically, you're talking about a user interface that not only is workable, looks good, user-friendly, and you can actually even say attractive, but also making sure that it's going to work with the application on the back end, be it a high-utility app as well. Once the research is done, the insight, obviously then a strategy comes into place, and like you said, you're tapping into many minds under one roof.
Yes, and I think that's a really unique value for us. We don't even oftentimes look at simply the product that we're helping to build. We're also looking at the organizational change that needs to happen in order to make this product successful in the long term. And so some of that often comes into How do you think about delivering software within your organization? How are you set up from a department perspective? How do you bring business stakeholders into the software development lifecycle? And how do we help you understand the importance of that and how to adapt to a sort of modern software delivery paradigms? And I think that's what's really unique and important about us. We take, in so many ways at different layers, a more comprehensive, holistic view of delivering software and making sure it's delivering value, not just tomorrow and next week, but for the next years to come.
As the VP of Boeing said after working with your organization, the results are undeniable. And bottom line, I imagine companies are looking for results. And is that what has basically catapulted you guys to the success that you've achieved?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're not driven by results, if you're not focused on what you're doing and how that's driving value, you're not servicing your clients well. And that's really the core part of what we believe strongly is if you're focused on the value that you're driving and solving customer needs, driving business value, doing it cost effectively and efficiently, then customers are going to be happy.
Excellent. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen. You're going to see their website. Basically, on the website, you can learn more basically about this company that began back in 2005. Take a look at their portfolio. It is quite impressive. We're talking about working with hundreds of Fortune 500 companies out there, basically, who rely on them to basically interact with technology. And like they said, the success between the person and technology is critical, especially nowadays. And that's a user experience agency that is reinventing the world around us. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.